Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 6 of Law with Darren, and today I want to cover slip and falls on Rhode Island sidewalks because it is December and it is that time of year again where the snow is going to fall, it's going to melt, freeze, and people are going to have a question in their mind as to, I live in a city that requires me to remove snow from my sidewalks, the public sidewalk, and if I don't do it, and somebody falls, I might get sued. That might not be the case, and I'm going to explain why. So, anyone who owns a home in Rhode Island, most likely you are aware of local ordinances that require you to remove snow and ice from your sidewalk after a snowstorm has occurred. Providence has it. Warwick has an ordinance. Pawtucket, Newport, East Providence, Cranston. These ordinances are everywhere. And again, they're local ordinances, so that means that they're passed by the actual individual towns or the cities, all right? So what exactly does this mean? Well, whenever you want, in order to prove a case of negligence, okay, there's 3 key elements. One is that you have to prove that the person you're suing owed you a duty to not do something. 2, you have to prove that they breached that duty to do or not do something. And 3, you have to prove that their breach was the cause of whatever injury you have. So, in 1990, there was a case called Martin versus Altman. And in that case, the plaintiff sued a landowner in Providence under the theory that they had slipped and fell on the public sidewalk outside of this private citizen's house. And they sued the abutting landowner under the theory that, in Providence, there is an ordinance that requires you to remove snow and ice. And so that's the duty. And 2, you breached that duty, okay? And 3, I fell, and that breach, and my fall was the cause of my injuries. So they sued the landowner. And what happened? Well, in the case of Martin versus Altman, for those of you who are curious to look it up, it's citation 568A, the number 2, D, 1031. I'll post the link in the Facebook and YouTube group. The Supreme Court looked at the City of Providence statute and clear cut said that the ordinance of the City of Providence, which requires an abutting owner to clear the adjacent sidewalk of snow and ice, creates only a duty to the municipality at large and not to individual passerbys. So the plaintiff in that case failed to prove the very first element that is required to keep their lawsuit alive, which is that the duty that they claimed this landowner had to them in Providence didn't exist. So therefore, the case was dismissed. The Supreme Court agreed and upheld the decision of the lower court. And this decision stayed pretty unchallenged and unchecked for many years, actually. The Supreme Court really didn't have to go in it again until 2021, believe it or not, when there was someone who fell at the old Canteen restaurant. For those of you who are familiar with the area, that it's a beautiful restaurant located right on Atwells Ave, Federal Hill. And in that case, which is known as Lowney versus Canteen Realty, LLC, citation 252A3D 259. This decision came out literally June of last year. I was very excited when it came out because, we have this big area of law that has remained unchecked and unspoken about by the Rhode Island Supreme Court. In that case, the plaintiff had a little different theory. Their theory was that on March 2nd, 2015, they were walking to the old Canteen. They had a reservation. Okay, so they called first. So, the old Canteen restaurant knows people are going to be coming by. And they sued the old Canteen restaurant because as they were approaching the restaurant on the public sidewalk, they slipped and fell due to ice on the sidewalk. So they said, this case is a little different than Altman because, and they alleged that the old Canteen restaurant did clear the sidewalk, but did not do a good job. Okay, which is a little different because, if you take a flamethrower to your sidewalk and you melt the snow, you don't do anything else, you let it, melt, it doesn't evaporate, it refreezes to ice. Ice is more slippery, at least in my opinion, than snow. So you've actually left the sidewalk in a worse condition than if you had just left the natural snow there for people to, walk by and let sand and garbage and stuff accumulate. And so you actually made it worse, all right? It's a good theory. I like the theory, to be honest, but I'm not a judge, so my opinion really doesn't matter. But the Supreme Court of Rhode Island didn't care and ruled and clarified that, again, the duty that the City of Providence ordinance that requires abutting landowners to clear sidewalks does not create a duty to the public at large. Okay? So, the old Canteen restaurant won. The plaintiff got off, the defendant got off, and the plaintiff lost in that case. So the Rhode Island Supreme Court really doesn't care about the argument that even if you do a bad job clearing your sidewalk and, essentially you make it worse, that creates a duty to people as a whole. So what do we learn here in this case? Well, if it snows and you don't clear your sidewalk and someone falls, you're not going to be found. You're not going to be found to be responsible for it. Now, I'm not saying that we should, disregard the ordinances of where we live, because you can be fined by the city. And also, you want to be a good person, right? It's your sidewalk. Take a little pride in where you live. Clean your sidewalks off for you and your family. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And be safe, be well. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Feel free to comment on the Facebook page, and I will gladly answer any questions you guys may have. Be safe, be well, and have a good holiday season, everybody.